Hey everyone, welcome to the Yota Expedition YouTube channel. My name's Jared. Today we're going to be going over the Stealth light bar kit for the 3rd Gen Tundra. We're going to cover everything that you get in the kit. Let's jump into it. The Stealth light bar kit from Diode Dynamics is going to fit in the lower opening portion on your Tundra's grille, and it's going to add tons of light output to see on those trails at night. So the light bars that Diode includes in this kit are going to be their Stage Series 18-inch light bars. You can see here both options. Both of these options have the driving and combo lenses pre-installed, but you are going to have a choice between the 6,000 Kelvin white output or the 2,000 Kelvin amber output. The white option is going to come in at 216,000 candela, and the amber option is going to come in at 113,800 candela. So both of these color options come with the combo lenses installed. What that means is you're getting 2 driving lenses, one on either side of the bar, and you're getting 1 flood lens in the middle. The driving lenses are going to give you a good amount of throw down the road out in front of the truck so you can see farther away. The floodlight is going to flood the direct area in front of the truck with tons of light to see on either side. This kit from Diode for the 3rd Gen Tundra is going to include everything you need for a plug-and-play direct bolt-on experience. You're going to get 2 mounts to mount the light bar to your bumper at existing locations, so there's no drilling or cutting required. You're also going to get a plug-and-play harness with everything you need. It does come with a generic switch, which to mount you would technically need to drill a hole in your dashboard. We do recommend adding our optional OEM style switch. This is going to allow you to integrate it into your dashboard without drilling any holes, and it's not going to stand out like an ugly sore thumb. This is a pretty easy install, but of course we're going to show you how to do it. Corey's going to show you how to get these mounted to your bumper, how to do all the wiring, and how to attach our OEM style switch for the cleanest look possible.
All right guys, so in order to get this job done, we're gonna have to remove the whole front bumper on the 3rd Gen Tundra. So we're gonna have some bolts along the top, we're gonna have some bolts on the bottom, and we're gonna have some bolts on the wheel well as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is pop the hood, and we'll take out those bolts along the top. So you can see on the top of the grill, we have 4 brackets that are going to the front of the truck. They each have a 10mm bolt. We're going to go ahead and take those out. We got those 4 bolts removed. Now on either side of the grill, there's going to be some plugs. The passenger side is going to have 2. The driver side is going to have 1. We're going to go ahead and get those unplugged. All right, now right below where those plugs were, there's going to be a push clip. So I'm going to use a trim removal tool. I'm going to pop both of those out. Now moving over to the wheel well, we're going to have 4 bolts on this side in the front and 4 bolts on the other side. We're going to go ahead and remove those with a 10mm socket. All right, so we got the 4 bolts removed on either side in the fender well. Now we're gonna go ahead to the bottom of the front bumper. There's gonna be 4 bolts down there to remove. Depending on your model, there might be 8. If there is, I'll show you where those additional bolts are. Okay, so on the bottom of the front bumper, you're gonna see these brackets coming off. You're gonna have 4 of these along the bottom of the front bumper. So those are the 4 bolts that we're gonna be removing. Now, if you have 8 bolts, the 2 additional bolts on either side are going to be right here on the bottom of the bumper cover. All right, now looking through the middle of the grill, you can see 2 brackets in there. Both brackets are held in with 2 bolts each. So from the top, we're going to go ahead and remove those 4 bolts. They're also 10mm. So at this point, we've unbolted everything that we need to on the bumper. Now we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna pull the clips out on the front fender flares that we removed earlier, and then we can go ahead and remove the bumper. So we're gonna go ahead and grab the fender flare, get your fingers underneath it, and pull out, and work your way up slowly. We ended up removing the first 4 clips on the fender flare. That way we have enough room to pull the bumper out. All right, now that we have the fender flares popped out from the side of the bumper, we're gonna go ahead in the same location and we're gonna pop the clips out on the bumper that go around the bottom of the headlight. So we're gonna reach in, grab the bumper cover, and we're going to start pulling that out. Work your fingers along the edge and get it all disconnected. So at this point, the bumper is ready to come off. Now, right here inside of these little grills, there's little clips that are holding the bumper on yet, but once you lift up and pull it out, it'll come right off. Got the bumper off. In the process of taking it off, just make sure the edges here on this don't get caught on the headlight or anything. We thought it was still connected, but it was just getting stuck on this. All right, we have the bumper on the ground. We need to do some things on the inside of the bumper first before we go ahead and mount the light bar. There's a wiring harness that runs through here that goes to the temperature sensor and your TSS. We're gonna have to take the clips off for the wiring harness and move that so that it is out of the way. All right, so we took off the 6 clips here on the bumper. We took off this clip right here, and then we are going to take off this temperature sensor as well. All right, now we're gonna take this bracket system off here because you can't just pull it up and over. There's 2 tabs that hold this on. It's really easy. So just go ahead and push on this tab and pull it up. And same on this side, push this tab, pull it up. I'll go ahead, push that harness up there and get this bracket put back in place. So as you can see now with the harness moved up there, where the light bar is going to be going is completely clear of wires. Now we're going to take this temp sensor, and there is a square right here on this metal bracket. If you put it in on an angle, you can get it to fit in there. And that's going to get it as close as to the OEM location as you can get it. Now I'm going to go ahead and just secure this wire harness to this bracket so it's not flopping around. So we just finished up doing what we needed to do to the bumper. Now we're ready to mount the brackets from Diode. So we're gonna go ahead and take the bolts out here for the crash bar. The top bolts are a 17 and the bottom bolts are a 14. We're gonna go ahead and get that in position and bolt it up. Now we can go ahead and put our brackets on and reinstall the hardware. I'm just going to finger tighten these down until we get both sides on and the light bar mounted inside. So in the bag of hardware from Diode Dynamics, you're going to have 2 bolts out of here that we need. They are going to be a 10mm bolt, and those are going to hold the brackets to the light bar. So I'm going to go ahead and just snug these bolts up so that I pull the brackets in, and then once the brackets are pulled in, I'm going to go ahead and tighten these bolts down. So now that we have the light bar snugged up to the brackets, and the brackets are pretty much where they need to be, now we can go ahead and tighten these down for good. So with the light bar mounted up there on the bumper, we're going to go ahead now and run the wiring up through while the bumper is off, and I'm just going to lay this up here until I get to it later, and then we can go ahead and reinstall the front bumper. All right, I'm going to feed this through and plug it into the light bar. So the rest of this for now, I'm just going to set up here, and we can go ahead and reinstall the front bumper. All right, so we got the bumper back on. We got these tabs in here holding it in place right now. So I'm going to go ahead and snap the sides underneath the headlights back in place, and then we can start reinstalling all the bolts. All right, so we got the bumper back on, and we took notice that there is a tab here in the center that is bent down and covering up a portion of the light bar. You can either go ahead and cut that tab off when you have the bumper off, or what I'm going to try to do is pull the bumper out just a little bit, push that tab up so that it tucks in above the light bar. There we go. So we have everything kind of roughly ran out where we want it. We have a bunch of extra wiring here that we're going to have to zip tie up and get it out of our way. We have the relay over here. There is a threaded hole on the side of the fender well. We're going to be using that to mount the relay. We have our positive and negative here to go to the battery. And then we have the wire that's going to be running over to the driver's side. We're going to be putting through a hole on the firewall so that we can run to our switch. I think what I'm going to be doing is popping off the windshield cowling. I'm going to be tucking the wire underneath there, so where it runs across the engine bay, you're not going to be seeing it. So we're going to start with taking the cowling off. There's a clip here on the end. I'm going to go ahead and pop that out first. Now along the bottom side, there's going to be clips, which you are just going to be pushing back towards the firewall and pull up on the cowling. Just work your way along from one side to the other, and then you'll be able to get enough room to tuck the wire inside. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the harness with the switch. I'm going to feed this through, and I'm going to go underneath this wiring here. Again, with this wire here, and go ahead and tuck it underneath. So we got the wire ran through the cowling. Now on the firewall next to the brake booster, there is a little rubber plug. We're gonna go ahead and pull that out, and that's where we're gonna be running our wiring through. So in order to do that, we're gonna go ahead and take the plug off of the wiring harness, and that way we can fit this through there. So just reach in there and grab it. It'll come out fairly easily. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put some tape on the end of the wiring harness so that all of these plugs aren't trying to get caught on everything. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tape this up. And then when I put it through that hole, I'm just gonna try to get it to go straight down towards the main wiring harness. And then when you're inside the truck, there's a section of the padding that you can move out of the way, and then you should be able to see where this wire is coming through. Now that we have the wiring pulled through to the interior, I'm going to go ahead and put the cowl back down in place. So to get this paneling off, we're just going to grab here next to the steering column. We're going to pull it towards us, and the plastic should pop out, just like so. I'm going to work my way along the edge and carefully pull it all out, like so. And now if we want, we can pull off this side piece as well. That'll give us some more access to behind that area. All right, so some of these switches, they push out by just pushing on the back of the switch. Some of them are a little bit more difficult. So like these dummy switches that we were trying to get out, there's little clips on either side. So I pushed on one side with my finger, and the other side I used a tiny flathead screwdriver. And by pushing both of them at the same time and pushing out, I was able to get it to come out. So we're gonna go ahead and remove that and install our new switch. Also, both of the dummy switches down there, they had plugs with wires going into them. Not quite sure what they are for, but we're just gonna go ahead and let them chill back here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the wiring harness and tuck it up through. Very easy, bring it through here. Now we can go ahead and wire our new switch on. So we got our OEM style switch here, and we ended up putting some male connectors on this. This is gonna come with no connectors, so it depends on what you wanna do. You could just hardwire it right to this harness. You can cut these off. But the wiring harness for the light bar is gonna come with female connectors. So if you put some male connectors on here, you can just hook it right up. So I'll go ahead and get our new plug put in place. Should just snap right in. And then we'll go ahead and plug this in. Now we can go ahead and hook up our wiring. All right, so to go over the wiring real quickly, we have the black and white wire crimped together on the back side of the switch. These are both going to be your grounds for the illumination on the switch, and that is going to be hooking up to the black wire on the light bar harness. Next up, we have the red wire on the switch. This is going to be power into the switch. This is going to be hooking up to the white wire on our light bar harness. Now we have our green wire on the switch. This is going to be our power out, which is going to be running to the relay on the wiring harness. That's going to be plugging into the blue wire on the harness. Lastly, we have the yellow wire. This is going to be the power for the illumination on your switch. So the plug that was plugged into that dummy switch, the wires that are running to it have power. So you can just tap into that, and then you're not worrying about ruining any of the wiring that is actually being used by one of your switches. So if you look at that plug that was plugged into the dummy switch, you can see there is a beige wire here all the way at the end. You're going to get a wire tap and tap into that wire, and then hook that up to your yellow, and you'll be good to go. So we went ahead and checked everything, making sure that the wire tap was making the right connection that we needed, and the illumination on the switch was working. So at this point, we are good to go and put all of our interior panels back on. All right, so the last thing we need to do is mount our relay and hook up the main power and ground to our battery. The hole that we're going to be using to mount the relay is an M8 thread. The hole on the relay is not big enough for that, so we're going to go ahead and just drill this hole out a little bit so that we can mount this to that particular location. All right, we got the relay mounted up. Last thing we need to do is just hook up the positive and negative onto our battery, and then I'll go ahead and clean up the extra wiring that we have here and tuck it out of our way. So I ended up putting the positive wire underneath the main wire because when I put it on top, it wasn't allowing the cover to fit. So I'm gonna try it like this. See if this clips on. We're good. So I took the rest of the wiring, I bundled it up, zip tied it together, and then I put all of that bundle right here under the rad support. And I'm going to use this hole, and I'm going to zip tie it to there. And now you can barely even see the wiring. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this install of the Diode Dynamics hidden light bar on the 3rd Gen Tundra. But we are going to go ahead and quickly install the amber one. So if you're interested in that, we're going to show you what that looks like as well. With that being said, if you have any questions on this install, make sure to ask us below in the comments. And if you want to pick up one of these kits for your Tundra, click the link in the description or head over to yotaexpedition.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.